Hello and welcome to the Shoot, Reload, Repeat podcast. My name is Calvin, aka Tactical as Buck, and this is episode 2. So, in episode 2 today, I have a special guest with me. His name is Charles. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Charles Leatherwood. I am Calvin's father. You can connect with me on Instagram at C31Leatherwood.
Or Wadcutter62, whichever one. He doesn't post on Wadcutter62. So, why don't you talk about how long you've been shooting guns, just in general, and then we'll get into the competition stuff here in a minute.
Well, I'm 56 years old, so I was thinking about that. So I guess I've been shooting for about 50 years.
Oh, man.
Ever since I was big enough to safely handle a firearm, my dad had me shooting.
Yeah, that's pretty much how me and you were. So we've roughly been shooting together for 20, 21 years?
Yes, sir.
And so you've been shooting competition for how long?
I guess my first one was 3 years ago, and it took me a little while, probably competitively, probably about 2 years, just when I could get to a match. It took me a while to find one here.
Yeah. Why don't you tell where you located?
I'm in the Lubbock area, up here in God's country.
Up here in the flatlands. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of USPSA up there. I feel like, depending on where you live in Texas, like if you go on the East Coast, or in Utah or Northwest, there's like USPSA everywhere. It's not real popular down here, and I'm not sure why it's like that.
Well, we have a shoot here twice a month, and then there's one in Midland, Odessa, and then there's one in New Mexico, either Hobbs or Lovington. I'm not sure which one. But like you experienced in the Houston area, they have them quite often. Your bigger metro mess cities.
Yeah, I think in Dallas they have a lot of USPSA. We're going to Dallas in a couple weeks for a Rangers game. I might try to go to a match.
That'll be interesting.
I like to shoot. I like traveling and shooting. Like when I went to Houston. In Houston, I went to this really cool match. They only had one bay, and they set up one stage. They could do 5 stages on the one bay, and they just changed some of the stages and they moved stuff around. It was really cool. So I like going other places to shoot. Meeting different people and just kind of because sometimes I feel like with club matches they kind of get into a rut and they kind of do the same thing. So I like to get out and shoot other places.
Well, speaking of that, after a while, I'll tell you more about the qualifier we got next week.
Oh, there's more information. All right. What division do you shoot?
I shoot production.
No, you shoot production.
Huh?
Production or limited?
I'm sorry, I shoot limited.
Yeah, we both started in production. All right.
We started out and we keep moving up, so I got to pay attention when I'm stopped.
Yeah, I know.
I shoot limited.
And shooting limited minor, right? Shooting minor
for now.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, I think the major power factor is the way to go. What gun are you using?
I got a Glock 17 with fiber sights.
Yeah, you're
pretty much in stock.
What's really cool is a couple weekends ago, or I guess last week when we were together and we were shooting, and we both have a Glock 17 Gen 4, but our guns are very, very different. Mine is Gucci'd out, stippled, I have slide work done to it. I got the red dot on it, finger grooves removed. Dad's is just bone stock except for the sights. Like he doesn't.
Well, and I changed my back plate.
Oh, your back strap, but it's still pretty much bone stock. And it's amazing the difference in the weight. Like your gun probably weighs 6 ounces more than mine, and
at least.
And I have the dot on mine. So I think that's really interesting. What did you?
But I think it has a lot to do with what you're comfortable with, because as you know, a lot of my other firearms are extremely heavy.
Yeah, like your high point.
And that's what I'm used to,
Yeah, I've been wanting to switch to something that's like steel framed, like a CZ, like a hammer fired gun that's a little heavier. But I don't want to have to buy new mags and all that kind of stuff. So why don't you tell our listeners your journey as like your journey through competitive shooting, kind of like I did on my first episode. So how did you get started, and kind of like what you went through?
Well, the very first one I went to, it was right before you got married. Your wife was having a bachelorette party, so me and you were batching it together in San Antonio. So you found a shoot for us to attend in Austin.
Yeah, at Austin Rifle Club.
And it was my very first one. I know you've been doing it a little bit. I've never done it, so hurriedly I have set up a very ghetto gun belt system.
Did you have a holster? What did you use for your? What gun were you shooting?
I was using my Ruger P95.
Did you have a holster for that, or did I have a holster for you?
I did. No, I had a holster for it, but I was using my father's, who was a retired police officer, Sam Brown black gun belt.
Yeah.
And then I was really struggling finding enough mag holders for that, so
yeah,
some of them I ordered didn't quite work, so I had to do some serious modifications.
Yeah, some
and I still have those. I keep them. I laugh when I look at it.
You should post it on the gram for everybody to see, because
I'll do that. I'll do that this weekend.
Yeah,
but it's
I remember that.
You remember it? I was scrambling just trying to get enough gear together right quick, and I think I even used part of yours, because I know the night before me and you were putting everything together.
Yeah, and I had the belt I have now, that Midway USA, I had ordered that belt like that week because I knew we were going to go shoot that weekend, because before when I was shooting competition, I was just using my battle belt, and so I ordered that. So yeah, we shot that first match, and then what happened after that?
Well, I came in last, but I didn't get DQ'd, which is what you were scared to death about, that I was going to get DQ'd. I did not get DQ'd. Yeah. But anyway, came in last, loved it, got hooked on it. Finally found a group here in Lubbock. They're called the West Texas Practical Shooters. They put on a shoot twice a month, year-round, at one of the shooting ranges here in south of town. And those of you that are not familiar with the Lubbock area, it gets extremely hot, extremely windy, and in the wintertime it gets extremely cold.
With rain and snow and sleet.
Yeah, and rain and snow. But
and hail.
To be honest with you, there was a few matches this winter that I did not go to because it was
too cold.
In my opinion, stupid cold. It was 19 degrees, and it's not that a cold. I just don't want to go shoot with a coat on and all that stuff. You know?
I think that's a consideration because you got to take off your jacket. Like you can layer, but then you got to take your jacket off, and then you got to do all that. And I remember when I shot that match in March with you up there, and it was still really, really windy. It was like 40-mile-an-hour winds. We didn't think we were going to have the match.
Calvin, you're gone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so remember that match we shot in March with the 40-mile-an-hour winds, and they had like all the targets, put down. They had cinder blocks. Yeah, and I remember just from that, like my hands cold from that when I drew down that very first stage, and I was trying to pull the trigger, and I just couldn't do it. So yeah, I live in San Antonio. It gets cold here in San Antonio. It gets like in the 40s and the 50s, but it doesn't get to where like you can still go out and shoot a match. It's not too bad.
Didn't that one bay, then your trigger finger, you couldn't bend it?
Yeah, I got like trigger freeze, not like because I was shooting too fast. I got the actual trigger freeze. Like my finger was cold. I couldn't pull the trigger. So you started shooting Glock 17. Me and you both started in production in USPSA. Why did you switch from IDPA to USPSA?
I don't want to hurt any of your listeners' feelings, but I do not like IDPA. I don't like the rules. I I'm all for rules for safety and all of that, but their rules, one, you can't drop a mag that's still got ammo in it. Correct me if I don't say this right, but you gotta hit the targets in a certain sequence.
Yeah, they have order of engagement.
Yeah, and then you have to, they can give you a hickey on if you're not behind cover.
They actually have changed that. Now they use fault lines instead of cover calls. They use actual fault lines.
Talking about like the toe boards and stuff.
Yeah, kind of like in USPSA, because I always thought cover calls were bullcrap. Anyway.
Well, it's kind of like balls and strikes,
Yeah.
But the listening to the goofy scenarios before it started, that drove me insane. Because one, I wasn't listening to it because I was already going through in my head where I needed to go first, where I needed to reload, and all that stuff.
I think, and I mean, this is probably just because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think the scenarios work at a higher level to make let's say the scenarios that you're sitting in your car and you actually like at USP or IDPA nationals, they make them shoot out of a car through an old car. So I think there it works, but at the local level, I mean, we only shot one match. It's only a group of one. There's a guy that I'm gonna have on my podcast very soon. His Instagram handle is 2alpha0down. He shoots both IDPA and USPSA, so he shoots both divisions. And so I'm going to have him on here just so that way, because to me, IDPA has such a different rule set and a different mindset than USPSA, and I want to pick his brain and see how he switches back and forth. And remembering both rule books, because the rule books are similar, but they're also very different. So,
well, wasn't it that somebody was in USPSA and they got mad, so that's when they went and started IDPA?
I think something like that. I don't want to lie here on air.
Neither. That's a wives' tale I've heard.
And I don't personally have anything against IDPA. I really think it's a good place for new shooters to start because it's very structured. So
I agree.
And
I agree.
It's a good place for you to start. I think it's probably a good thing that we started at IDPA and not USPSA, because USPSA, think about that very first match I shot with you in with West Texas right after Double Tap, how hard those stages were. That would have been really daunting as a new shooter. So I think IDPA is a great place to start. It's just really not my cup of tea. And I don't think it's your cup of tea either. So
it wasn't, but you made a good point about being good for a first time in competition, because what's good about USPSA is when you walk up to the line or the starting position, it is totally up to you which targets you go engage first. And that's why, at some of our matches, we've had some brand new shooters. We had one guy one time, he didn't even have any mag holders. He was putting them all in his back pockets.
Oh,
but we were watching him a lot closer because, you can engage them however you want to, and you really you got to keep an eye on somebody a little bit more on that, because, they run by and they're like, oh, dang, I missed that one, and they start backing up or whatever. Yeah. But I agree. But then again, it is doable too, But I really enjoy it. I have a very stressful job, and when I go out there, I am totally relaxed because that is the only thing I am thinking about.
Yeah,
it's just shooting, and I'm relaxed. I enjoy myself, and of course, anytime you get to go shoot guns, it's cool. So
yeah, and I think a lot of people that grew up shooting guns, a lot of them grew up, like you and I, shooting static, standing static, and then I think once you get out there and you run around with a gun in your hand and you're having to think and reload, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they do in USPSA with swingers and drop turners and all kinds of stuff, and I think to me it's really fun. Both of us were, we did athletics. When I got done playing college football, I did the bodybuilding for a while because that was something that I wanted to do. And then when I graduated and became an actual adult, I didn't have time to do that, and so I needed to find something that I could put time and effort in. And I needed to like compete because that's just the kind of person I am, and I think USPSA is really great.
Well, and in your first podcast, you were talking about one thing you like about USPSA is you're competitive. You want that. You need that competitive drive. Where in my case, yes, I'm competitive. I'm a pretty competitive son of a gun. But when I do these matches, I'm going at it more of a mindset of training.
Yeah, it's like it's good training. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I look at. And granted, I want to compete and get better, and I'm working towards that. But that's more. I look at it as it's a competition, but it's also some great training. It's making some difficult shots, some quick shots, knowing when your mag's about to go out. And that's another thing. It might be an interesting topic. Right before you go up to the line and shoot, you've already kind of walked it. Okay, here I need to change mags here, and it never fails. Usually on one stage, all that goes out the window.
Yeah, once that buzzer goes off, it's like that little red thing from the Men in Black. It just erases your memory.
And the little blinky thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of for all you tactical guys out there. I'm not being derogatory, but all you tactical guys, that if you're listening to my podcast, there's a lot of trainers that do compete at a very high level. And if you let's say you go to nationals and you win C class at nationals, you're probably like a better shooter than like 80 or 90% of the entire world. If you think about it, think about the amount of people that actually shoot, and then think about people that shoot competition. Now, I'm not saying we're all John Wicks and we're all badasses or whatever, but I think people that shoot competitively versus people that just go out to the range and plink and just do that, they have a better skill set, They're able to think with the gun in their hand. They're able to shoot. They're able to reload. They're able to move. They're able to track sights and call shots and all things like that. So, I think competition is really good for you. A podcast you could check out is the Modern Samurai podcast. He always talks about how competition doesn't get you killed in the streets. I think that's what people always say, competition will get you killed in the streets. I know at your match, there's a lot of law enforcement guys. Like the SWAT guys come out and shoot with y'all. And those dudes are badass at shooting. I like watching those guys shoot.
Well, the last couple of ones, we had a lot from the sheriff's department. And the last match, I found out that two of them, I think the Sheriff's Association has shooting teams.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that was shooting in it is like seriously ranked on these. I don't know if it's statewide or national or nationwide, but he is seriously ranked, and he's fun to watch shoot. Also, but yeah, that one shoot you did with me with those SWAT guys.
Yeah, they were good. They were good.
They were lightning quick and throwing. But you have another good point. Like the people that, and I'm not knocking it, but because anybody that's going to carry a firearm or have a firearm, but more especially to carry it, they need to shoot often. Just to make sure that you're staying sharp and all of that. And and it's fine to go out and shoot a static target. But what I like about us, you're doing it moving. You're not just standing there shooting a paper target.
Yeah, just putting holes in paper.
Yeah, I mean you're actually moving and you're having to think about it, especially with the no shoots.
With competition shooting, there's that whole scoring. So you can go to the range, you could shoot at a piece of paper at 7 yards, and your target can look like a shotgun splatter, like all over the place. But when you shoot competition, if your targets, especially for us and minor, if you're shooting a lot of deltas, a lot of Charlies, even Mikes, that's going to hurt your score. So with USPSA, USPSA, IDP, all the shooting sports, they really focus on that time. Like, can you shoot fast, but can you also shoot accurate? And I think I talked about that in my first podcast, my very first episode, is I like how in USPSA, on some stages, you could just blaze a stage and you don't have to worry too much about your accuracy. Or but like on a long field course, you really have to worry about your accuracy because your time everyone's time is going to be long, so it's going to come down to the points. So I think that's another point to be made for shooting competition as well.
And then sometimes they'll set up a stage where I think you shot that one with me where they had two of them behind the barrel that you shot point blank.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, the hoser stages. I like
Yeah,
I like the hoser stages.
Yeah, just walk up, put your muzzle on the deal, and rack it off.
And if you're going to be in the San Antonio area in October, listeners, October 13th, River City Shooters is going to be having their annual Hose Fest. So basically what it is, it's like 7 stages. The minimum round count is like 40 to 50 rounds. I think the only divisions they're allowing is like limited. I think like limited. There's no dots. I don't think no PCC, thank God. And everything's major scoring. So I'm really excited. It's like if you YouTube it, this River City Practical Shooters Hose Fest, HOSEFEST. It's awesome. It's just like open paper. There's no shoots. There's no hardcover. It's just open paper, and you're just running around shooting these long field courses. So it's going to be really awesome. So let's talk about. I guess we could talk about gear. So what kind of, like, I guess how like your belt, your holster, your mags. What kind of gear are you running?
Well, I tell you what, I seriously graduated from when I first began.
Because of who?
I'm running a Blatex gun belt right now.
That who gave you for Father's Day?
I think it was my number one son.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah,
Yeah.
He has a nicer belt than I have. Just saying.
Yeah, that's what's funny because my son rolls up at the range with me and he got all this Gucci stuff, and here I am, poor old dad, getting his other stuff out. But I got the Blatex gun belt. I really like it.
It's a super rigid belt.
Yeah, it is, and I need that. I may have to go get me some Carpenter suspenders and put on it. Which going here lately. Then my mag holders. I've got a Blackhawk double mag holder, which I like. It's not bad. And then I got a Safari Land triple mag holder, which I really like.
The bullet out ones, like the law enforcement ones.
Yeah, I do, and I like the way the mags ride in it. For me, because the triple. I got it a little bit up closer to the front of my right hip when I shoot. So, I mean, it's right there when I drop mags. And then, like you said, I've got a Glock 17. That's about it.
And your holster, you're using that the T-Rex Arms one?
Yes, sir. I love that one.
Do you like the T-Rex Arms? I think I'm running the prototype holster from TH Holsters. But I think I'm going to go with Red Hill Tactical. They are a sponsor of the Rudy Project shooting team, so I think I'm going to pick up one of their double layer Kydex holsters and try it out. Yeah, you have really nice. Your belt setup's pretty good. You shoot limited. You don't run any mags in front of your belt like I used to when I did limited. You don't do nothing Gucci like that, or you don't run.
Yeah, I mean. It works fine. It's funny, I always have 5 mags loaded and then one in my pants, my pocket, one of my pockets for when you make ready. And I guess it's going back to where when we were shooting production, I just always anal about not having enough bullets.
Well, that's how I am with that. Like, but if you miss a reload, you just muff it and you throw your magazine across the stage. It's better to have an extra. Or I've even seen at competitions where, a guy puts his magazine in the gun and he seats it too hard and the bottom blows because it's an old magazine. The bottom blows out of it. And then what are you going to do? You're not going to sit there and pick up all the bullets. So, yeah, I think in competition it's like always better to have more because it's not like you're running, a stage max time, like a long stage is like maybe 40 seconds. So I think you're fine with, having all those mags. So
I think some of ours, the most round count I think we ever had was 36.
Yeah, I think USPSA rules was like 32. So if you have 3 or 4, if you have like 4 17-round mags, you're good because my mags hold 22 with the base pad. So when I was shooting limp, I only have 4 mags loaded. I have 1 in the gun and 3 on my belt, but that's damn near 80 rounds, 90 rounds. So that's if you can't finish the stage in 90 rounds, then hate to say it's going to be a long day for you.
Well, my buddy Big Hoss, I got him into guns and shooting, and he's kind of doing some of our local 4-H's do like some steel challenges and stuff like that. And I'm going to tell a little story on it. His very first match he went to, the first stage, he ran completely out of.
Oh, he did still challenge, right? It was a still challenge match?
Huh?
It was still a challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he ran out of ammo, and he put his gun down, and the timer said, "Are you done?" He goes, "No, I'm going to go get some more bullets." He walked back over to his car, he loaded all of his bags back up, and he went and finished the stage. And, I felt for him. He was embarrassed as crap, but he didn't quit.
Yeah, I feel him because that's how it was when I shot that very first 3-gun match with that Ruger P85, and I shot I think 30 rounds, maybe more than 30 rounds at that steel, and I still never could hit it. So good on him for finishing. That's good because most people just would have packed it up.
He does a lot of shoots now, and he did it pretty good, doing very well at it. But I always kind of tease him about that, and he goes, "Not anymore." He said, "I'm a lot better shot than I was last time," But I was very proud of him for not quitting,
Yeah.
or getting disgusted and all that stuff. Nope, he made his gun safe, put it in the holster, walked to his car, loaded his mags, went back out there down the line.
Did they stop the timer? I hope. I would hope. That's crazy. Man. But yeah.
No, they didn't stop the timer. They kept it running.
Oh, dang. Oh, man. That's crazy.
But it's all about having fun, and that's what I like, If you're not having fun, you don't need to be doing it. You need to have fun. Safety, of course, is first all the time, but, have some fun. Especially with that group I shoot with, there's several of us that, we're cutting up with each other all the time. And, that's what I like. It's kind of like a little camaraderie,
Yeah, I think, most places, every place I've ever gone to shoot, there's, you always have your, you have your guys on their stage that, in your squad that are, very, very competitive, and whether they're a really great shooter or whatever their deal is, you're always going to have those guys. It's kind of like when you go play pickup basketball, and you have the guys that think that they should be in the NBA. You're always going to have that, especially when you're dealing with dudes and machismo and testosterone and all that. So you're always going to have that. But I would say about 90% of the people that shoot competition are probably the nicest, friendliest people. When I about a month ago when I was shooting an AASA match, I had 2 squibs on a stage after a reshoot, and I didn't have any extra ammo, and my good buddy Tyler Northcutt hooked it up with the ammo. So I've seen people give people holsters, let them use their gun. People that shoot competitively are probably the nicest people. They'd probably give their shirt off their back if you needed it. So.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about it.
There's been several fires that a guy had his firing pin broke, and one of the guys walked over and pulled one of his guns, extra guns, out of his bag, and told him, run that, and he did. That's what's cool. Everybody wants everybody to be out there and have fun and
do well
and compete. And, it's like life, man. Every once in a while, stuff happens. If your gun breaks, you just don't get in the car and go home. There's always somebody there that can help you out. Or if you got a major failure or a malfunction, there's several there that say, "Hey, I do what to do."
Yeah, when my dot died, my good buddy Adam, he's a new shooter. I might have him on the show one day. Um, he's shooting his Canik TP9 Elite, and
You there?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when my dot died at that one match, my good buddy Adam, who I'll have on the show one day, I had to shoot his TP9 Elite, and this basically kind of like a Glock 19, and I like had to it fit in my holster, like quotation marks fit. I had to like shove it in there, and then his mags are narrower than Glock mags. And if you if you look at my Instagram, look at my match video, every time I take off from a position, I'm having a yard so mags flying out. So you just gotta adapt and overcome. I think I'm gonna build a second slide for my Carry Optics gun. That way I have another, uh, another gun. I replaced a bunch of internal parts in my gun, some like triggers parts, and I just kept all the OEM stuff. I keep it with me just in case I ever need it. I think it's always good, if you shoot a Glock, you can buy like a Glock lower parts kit on eBay for like $70. So I think it's always good to have that. I think we could do an episode about what we take to the range, what's in our range bag. I always kind of like those kind of gear episodes. We can save all that for that. So let's talk about. So you just recently joined USPSA, and
Yes.
you've shot a few matches. So what is your goal, I guess, for this 2019 season?
My goal is to get faster. I want to get my qualification up.
Yeah.
I've been really hitting the gym hard these past couple of weeks or month or so, and trying to get it where I move quicker. You know me, if you see me running, you better kill what's chasing me. But
Yeah.
that's my whole deal. I don't move real fast. Just kind of working on that. And just, I've been mediocre shooting like in my squads or in my classes, and just kind of want to improve on that. I'm not saying I want to go out there and ace, win every one of them, but there's great improvement. And just get better accuracy. Work on my sight pictures and all that a little bit better.
Yeah, that's one thing I've like with USPSA. You have to learn what and that's where where a lot of dry practice comes in, and live fire practices. What's an acceptable sight picture? Because I think both you and I are both guilty of like when we first started, when a target is like 2 yards away from you, you don't really have to aim at it. You just kind of put the gun in front of your face and slap the trigger twice. And
Use the front sight.
And I think as you progress in the shooting sports and you like that, I think the speed comes once you like not slow down, but once you get like, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts about vision. Like once you see, like when you can see your sights and you're able to execute your stage plan and you can move through a stage, it might seem slow, but it actually gets really faster. And I'm not saying slow down and go faster, but I think it all just kind of comes with time. And for me, I tend to go too fast and I don't get my hits, so I got to learn to try to slow down because I want to Ricky Bobby every stage. So those are my
mine. I'm more concentrating on shooting I'm more concentrating on aiming than I am moving real fast. I guess it's just the old school shooting. That. Make sure you got a good base and everything else when you shoot. And I'm getting out of that a little bit, where you're able to shoot on the move more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would you ever be interested in taking a class from like a top level shooter, like if Rakaza or like some other guys came through and they had like a shooter class for like competition? Would you ever consider doing that?
Yeah.
I would like to do it. Like Tim Herron, JJ Rakaza, any of those guys, Perez, any of those guys, man, it would be great just to the class. I think the money that you spend on the class would be well worth it because I know a lot of people, Ben Stoger, a lot of people that do take those classes, they learn so much from it, and like they just because they like the class headers are like 10 or 12 people and they really work with you, and I think I might try to do one of those this year. There's a guy that trains here in San Antonio, and he's done USPSA, and I thought about doing a class with him. Just he does a lot, like one-on-one, like 2-hour classes, and you can work with him. So awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would like to talk about here on our podcast? Is there anything you want to mention? I don't have anything else in our notes. So, is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Kind of going back to what I was saying about me trying to move. I do a lot of trap shooting. Competitions, or not competitions. We call them turkey shoots up here. Different groups have fundraisers, but it really got me to thinking because, like, when you're doing a trap shoot, before you tell them to pull, you got your feet where you always keep your feet. I usually got my left foot out in front of my right a little bit, and you're stationary. But I got to thinking about that more and I think that's part of my problem with my slowness, other than I am slow, is that I think I'm subconsciously thinking about my foot placement when I get ready to shoot.
Yeah. A big thing about movement, too, that I've been trying to work on is when I come into a position, like as I'm coming into a position, having my gun up and ready, and that way as soon as I'm getting ready to stop, I'm already starting to prep that trigger. I think I watched some old match videos from like when I very first started, and I would run up to a position, shoot, run up to a position, stop, shoot, and I think that's a big part of it too. And that all just comes with time and practice. I've seen some dudes, like some big kind of overweight, like bigger than us kind of guys, just move quick and shoot. So I think it just comes with a lot of practice, and I think taking a class would help that, because I feel like I have a lot of wasted movement in my shooting. I don't know if that's how you feel about your shooting, but I feel like I have
fast when you go.
Well, I'm fast.
Part of my problem is I was watching some of the videos of me shooting. I catch like I said, it's a self-conscious deal. Like before I shoot, I make sure that left foot's out in front of me.
Yeah. That old school like Weaver stance.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? We're back. Are we back?
Yeah.
All right.
We're back.
Sorry about that, folks. Have a little bit of technical difficulties. Out there in the flatlands, internet's not that great. Got prairie dogs running on the wheels to keep the internet going. Yeah, I think that's something that I think everybody, like, there's always like little things that like when I watch match video that I see like, oh crap, I could have done this better. And I think that's what I like about the shooting sports, is because let's say you get really good at reloads and really good at transitions, but then now I need to work on my movement, and there's always something constantly to work on. It's kind of like when I did bodybuilding. Like there's always something I could get better. Like, okay, I need to get my chest stronger now, I need to get my legs stronger now, I got to work on my calves, I got to work on my traps. I think that's why I like shooting, is because there's always something. And even if you watch like the top level dudes, JJ Racaza, Ben Stoger, Max Michel, all these dudes, they could shoot a blowout, burn down stage, and they could probably tell you a handful of things that they didn't, that they could have done a lot better. And I think that's why I like USPSA.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's like that, always getting better, always, so that's good. Well, I think we're at almost 40 minutes, which this blew by really, really fast. I think me and you are going to talk about reloading in a podcast. I think I'm going to do a solo podcast here soon about pistol caliber carbines and my intrepid hatred of pistol caliber carbine and USPSA. So that will be coming out very soon.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be it might be an explicit episode, but I'm going to put it out soon. I haven't, me and you we'll get you definitely back on the podcast. We can talk about what's in our range bags. We definitely can talk about reloading, because me and you are both new to reloading. I think we've both had our fair share of ups and downs, and we can talk about that in an episode, because I think a lot of people would be interested to hear that. Is there anything you want to plug before we finish this out?
God bless America.
And you can you can find me on Instagram at Tacticalsbuck. I also have a YouTube page. Haven't really been posting much on the YouTube page. I have a couple things I'm working on. But now that I'm with the Rudy Project shooting team, it's really hard for me to kind of review other products. If I was following me on Tacticalsbuck, I am very, very active on Instagram. So go over there and follow me. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Or also follow Dad at, was it C31 Leatherwood or Elwood?
Yeah, that's what I'm on most of the time.
So C31 Elwood. He posts really interesting things. He's not a millennial, so he doesn't live on Instagram like I do. So don't expect a lot of content. But when he does, he posts quality over quantity. Make sure that you subscribe to our podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please. If you're also listening on Apple Podcasts, go and give us a 5-star rating. Maybe once we get some 5-star ratings, we can go on there and read those. Usually those are very comical episodes and podcasts. If you're listening on any other platform, please like us, give us a like, check us out, share this podcast with friends. I really want to grow this podcast. I don't expect it to blow up out of the water, but I would really like for a lot of people to listen to it. So if that's all you got, it will end. Shoot fast and don't suck.